This episode of the Game Over Greggy Show is brought to you by Blue Apron. For less than $10 per meal, Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals. Did I missay recipes? I might have, but I'm not going to stop because your best friend and Blue Apron don't care. They just want to feed you. Will you let them feed you? Ladies and gentlemen, I've used Blue Apron. That's right, it's me, Greg Miller, from the Game Over Greggy Show. They sent buffalo chicken sandwiches. I made them. They were delicious. Did they send other things? Yes, they did. They were also delicious. They send you the pre-portioned ingredients. You get them. You do little step-by-step recipes. You get cool recipe cards. They teach you about the ingredients. You make delicious home-cooked stuff at home. So check out this week's menu and get the first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/Greggy. You will love how good it feels and tastes to create an incredible home-cooked meal with Blue Apron, so don't wait. That's blueapron.com/Greggy. Blue Apron, a better way to cook. Now here's Kevin.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Game Over Greggy Show. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the producer/seducer, Nick Scarpino.
I'm telling you, we're too nice to him. That's what I'm telling you.
To Kevin Coelho?
Yeah, you give him an inch, and he takes a hoagie. Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. That
Yeah.
How long? So let me just. I imagine you're in the car last weekend driving somewhere with D, and you start pitching her these. And this is what you guys came up with. You workshop that joke for an hour and a half.
That magic
give him an inch, he'll take a hoagie.
That magic just came out of me on the spot. Truth phone.
Magic comes out of you a lot on the spot.
Truth phone. What the fuck is this shirt that you're wearing, Tim?
It's a fantastic shirt.
Over there,
Shout
the pure
out
one, Tim Gettys.
to Marco, my dude over at Great America, who sent us this beautiful shirt. Let me show you the shirt. Kevin, I'm getting in the front.
Kevin, he's getting into the front.
There we go.
As we've told you many times, leave it in the wide the entire time. You don't listen. You son of a bitch.
Are you going to lay on
You're getting on? Oh, we're going to the overhead cam. Overhead cam getting some use on the Game
Skycam?
Over Greggy Show.
Look
Yeah,
at
that looks really good.
That's fine.
Kevin, rotate the image in
rotate.
post.
No, I can't do that.
Bandicoot has been saved.
Damn, he's got an undershirt on.
Of course he does. These guys wear undershirts like there's no tomorrow.
So that was made at a Great America.
It was made at Great America. I'm a big fan of Great America. Anybody that grew up in the Bay Area is very fond of Great America. And they have this little building where they do airbrush paintings of like caricatures on shirts and stuff. And I always wanted one, but they were really expensive, so I never got it. Dreams do come true, kids. Here you go. You too could
They
look
do.
at this.
So do nightmares.
And, do you see the back?
It's got the kind of funny
Apparently.
logo.
It's okay.
That looks like a child's nightmare, this whole thing.
This whole
It's
entire
terrifying.
thing.
I love everything about it.
Would you wear this on a date with Gia?
Oh, just to piss her off.
Yeah.
She doesn't like bandicoots. This Crash
That's
is
a weird
cool.
thing to say. Nope,
Well,
this is all weird.
She doesn't like the rats. She doesn't like any like little woodland creatures. One time, I googled bandicoots and she was not having it. It like kind of horrified her,
Yeah.
and she didn't forgive me for a long time. But whatever. Have you seen what real bandicoots look like?
No. Not
They're
a fan.
adorable.
Are they adorable or are they disgusting?
They're about as adorable as Colin Moriarty in this
Google
beautiful
this.
hoodie.
Oh, hey.
You can get
Right
it
now.
at kindoffunny.com/store.
It's the pride of Long Island, Colin Moriarty.
Thank you. Go Jets.
Go Jets indeed. How's your fantasy football team?
Oh, terrible.
Yeah?
Just absolutely fucking terrible. Losing money already. It's great. It's
I enjoyed
fantastic.
Nick and I were having some business discussion 10 minutes ago or whatever. And then Colin's just like, fuck. And we're like, what? And he's like, my fantasy football team's horrible. I'm like, all right.
What's sad is that you looked to me and to Greg for sympathy, and you got none. Because all of the words that you said, you hit my head and just bounced right off. I'm like, I don't
It's just all
understand what
money
any of that
down.
is.
It's just all money down the drain. And the unfortunate thing in the pay league I'm in, which
why I
is
don't
going to
gamble.
cost me an arm and a leg anyway, is when you drop or release or trade players, you pay more money. So to make my team better, I'm going to need to spend more money. It's just a very, I thought I had a good draft, and it's just not working out very well for me. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, you didn't like microtransactions.
no, I don't like microtransactions.
This sounds like a badass.
I'm a bad general
He
manager.
caught you. He caught you.
Not
good
really.
news
I
is
still,
Tim-
I still don't
Colin.
have. I still don't have. Really
How do you play
understand
it? Do you use your mobile phone?
Oh my God.
no.
Oh my God.
You
That's
can
a
use your mobile
Bandicoot?
phone, but I don't. I don't use my mobile phone. I don't even have the app, the CBS Fantasy Sports app. I use the browser on my laptop. It's a true story.
If you didn't know, this is the Game Over Greggy Show. Each and every week, 4, sometimes 5 best friends gather on this table. Each bring a random topic of discussion for your amusement. If you like that, head over to patreon.com/kindafunny, where we post the entire show early, along with a bunch of exclusive goodies, perks, and photos of Nick. We need to put up an exclusive photo of you over there.
Was it exclusive?
We need to. I said we need to.
We need to.
If you don't have any bucks to toss our way, no big deal. Head over to youtube.com/kindafunny, where we post the show topic by topic, day by day, until it goes up as one big video and MP3. What are you shaking your head at?
I don't know what Colin's topic is for this show. Just looking at whatever the hell's happening here. You are a serial killer. Absolutely.
Colin, bring it up. You get to start. What's your topic?
It's the morality of football.
Now, real quick, put the notebook here just so we can see the Diary of a Madman.
No, because there's other things on here that people can't see. Sorry about it.
His social security number's on there for no reason.
Just other notes. This is my notebook where I keep all just random things I need to think about.
You journal your thoughts?
Yeah. So half of this is actually expenses that I need to pay off. Well, that the company needs to pay me for. And it's already been paid. And that's my topic. So it's football season, and I want to preempt this with a few things. First of all, I'm a huge football fan, as I think a lot of our fans know, and I live and breathe NFL football. But there's a few things that I want to say. First of all, we're talking about American football. No one cares if you call soccer football in your country.
Yeah, don't bother leaving that comment.
I'm going to remove those 100 comments. No one gives a flying fuck. Also, no one cares if in your country you guys play rugby and it's tougher because no one wears equipment. So we can remove those 50 pieces or 50 comments as well.
50 of those.
And then we can also remove the thing about how the Jets are terrible or this team's good or Brady's a cheater, all those kinds of things. Actually, you can put Brady's a cheater.
That's
in the
fine.
comments.
You like that. You like that.
But what I want to talk about was something specific that's happening, a conversation that's been swirling around with football, which is a super violent sport. And it's the morality of the sport being played, if parents should allow their children to be played, and about think pieces that have been happening and people kind of just conjecturing that football actually will not exist for more than a couple more decades for multiple reasons. And so I wanted to present to you guys a couple of pieces of evidence or data about what they're talking about, and then see what you guys think about whether playing football at a Pop Warner level or a high school level or a college level or even the NFL is maybe immoral, or if football is fine the way it is, and et cetera and so on, and we can kind of have a conversation about it. So this is where my statistics came in.
Here we go. The big book of stats.
So I was looking. So basically, everything about football the last 10 years or so has to do with this thing called CTE, which is a degenerative brain disease. And I'm always going to say it wrong, but it's chronic traumatic encephalopathy, I think is how you call it. It's a degenerative disease that happens when brains are concussed over and over again. It causes a lot of damage with like recurring hits.
Tells the truth.
Exactly. There's a movie with Will Smith called Concussion about the doctor in Pennsylvania that discovered that brains of former NFL players were really fucked up. And so it causes Alzheimer's, also dementia, depression, all those kinds of things, but it really focuses around CTE and this degenerative disease that a lot of football players have. And the statistics show, first of all, I found this statistic that suggests one thing, which is that only 0.0004% of high school football players will die playing football. So this is a small amount.
Only.
And this is when football starts to get very physical.
Wait, what
at
was
the
that?
high 0.0004%. So it's literally 0.4 in 100,000. So 1 in 400,000 or something. I don't know what.
You can say that, but I saw a startling analogy last night that changed my views on a lot of things. What if I told you, Colin, there's a bowl of Skittles?
Oh, Jesus. This.
In one of those
all right,
Skittles.
Donald Trump.
It's poisonous. 3 out of this bowl was poisonous.
So at the high school level where the sport starts to get really physical, there's some data suggesting that repeat hits are starting to hurt even kids at a young age. But the data is there that like no one's going to die, because people have always been saying like, what's going to happen when someone dies on the field in the NFL? When we've been saying that for years, like what happens when someone just fucking dies? Like right in front of 10 million people. And that hasn't happened.
I feel like at that point, that's when it's on the onus is on the coaches and the people around him to move some of his hands a little bit so people don't know that he dies. Yeah. Weekend at Bernie him. And
Weekend at Bernie's.
Off the field. Yeah, get him off the field as fast as possible. Was that insensitive, Kevin?
So like people started with lawsuits and all these kinds of things started to bring up, and with people getting sick and actually dying and killing themselves because of their brain trauma.
Or killing other people.
That football is really actually injuring, especially specific running backs. Linemen, et cetera, and so on. And the NFL has its own concussion protocol that it's kind of brought in about when there's a big hit in the NFL. You have to kind of go through this protocol with an independent doctor that has nothing to do with the staff of that team, the coaching staff of that team, because typically they would just inject them with medicine and push them back out, even if they.
What do they do? Just now, is there a doctor sitting anywhere? And the guy
there's a doctor
down?
that's basically like, well, you're going to go through this protocol. I'm independent of all of this, and we're going to figure out if you have a concussion or not. In 2012, 261 concussions happened in the NFL, 271 in 2015. From 2014 to 2015, year over year, 58% more concussions from games than the year before, because everyone's getting bigger, the game's getting faster, and the game's becoming more physical.
Right.
And the other big thing here is that American Academy of Neurology had a study where they found 40% of retired NFL players, quote, show evidence of abnormal brain structures, end quote. And, quote, half showed serious problems, end quote, in cognitive tests, and 45%, quote, had difficulty with learning and memory, end quote. And then they found that they took 40 players who averaged 7 years in the league, but who were not out of the league for more than 5 years. So not old
fresh.
men. They're still young. 43% of them had brain injuries.
Ooh. So it's
I
getting worse.
think we're dealing with the chicken and the egg situation, though. Do they play football because they're stupid?
Oh my gosh, they already gotten brain injury.
That's true. That's a good point.
Terry Bradshaw got hit so hard his hair grows that way. It's not because he's bald.
Now
Jesus.
in high school,
True story. I thought he was Hulk Hogan for the longest time.
I could see that actually. In high school, football is considered the most concussion-ridden sport, and it's a violent sport. But
what are the other options?
Hockey,
softball team.
Well, hockey and
hockey is brutal. Wrestling would be brutal too.
So
I guess we don't have hockey.
And what they're finding is that it's not one concussion, but multiple concussions, multiple head injuries overall that don't have to be traumatic, but are happening at a more minor but regular pace. And what they found in the NCAA is that actually more hockey players get concussions than football players, but that more football players get repeat concussions. When a hockey player gets a concussion, it's usually when some freak fucking thing happens to a bad hit or something like that. But in football, a running back's going to get clobbered 20 times in a game going up the middle.
So there's 20 times more times.
Exactly. So those are the statistics that they found there. And because of all of this, the NFL eventually had to eventually admit that the sport is super dangerous, especially at the highest level they're playing. And they had a $765 million settlement to help like 18,000 players who sued them based on like having some issues. And big players have died or killed themselves or gone fucking crazy, like Dave Duerson and Junior Seau most recently. And that was the big one that really resonated with people like Greg and I's generation. Is Junior Seau was an amazing player. We grew up with him, and he went fucking crazy and killed himself out of nowhere. And this was a big hitting defensive player who dove headfirst into players for 15 years and was totally fine until he wasn't. Mm-hmm. And then he was gone. And so this brings up the question on if there's a point in which, well, let me back up and say, first of all, that this is starting to scare people. Parents are starting to diminish, like there's actually a smaller group or a more fledgling group of people playing sports, football at a youth level at an early age, because parents are afraid that their kids are getting exposed to these injuries very early. Even though there's mixed evidence on whether the hits are hard enough at, say, the 10 or 12-year-old level to actually injure them, they're still afraid to expose them. Mm-hmm. The question then becomes that if there are not many players playing at the young level, then there's fewer players playing in high school. Then the pool to go to college becomes smaller. Yeah. Then the pool to draw to college for the NFL becomes smaller, and so on and so forth. And the idea is that, and what people think is that football might go extinct because parents are not willing to expose their youth, their kids, to a demonstrably dangerous sport that has all these statistics behind it, stating that at some point 40 or 50% of you are going to have some sort of degenerative brain disease, even if you only played in the NCAA and then went on to have a normal life, which is what most NCAA football players do. Mm-hmm. Most of them don't. In the draft, you're talking about 270 players a year out of thousands and thousands and thousands of players that are technically eligible, I guess, or would want to play. But the other side of it is this, and this is the side that I've argued in the past, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, but this at the NFL level, this is what I wanted to tell you guys. The average player will play in the NFL for 3.3 years. If you make the team as a rookie, like make your first team as a rookie and then stay in the league, your average is 6 years. The league minimum salary is $435,000 a year, and the average salary is $1.9 million a year for an NFL player, which is actually the lowest paid of the 4 professional sports in the United States. Hockey players make more than basketball players and then baseball players. If you played the minimum 3.3 years at the league minimum, you'd make $1.44 million, and if you played for 6 years, you'd make $2.61 million. Mm-hmm. If you averaged 3.3 years at $1.9 million, a league average, you'd make $6.27 million, and at 6 years, you'd make about $11.5 million. The question is twofold. Is it immoral to let children play football and to grow them up in this very violent thing? And is the risk worth the benefit at the NFL level, since these guys all make a ton of money to play in a gladiatorial sort of way as we watch them kill each other basically on the field. Is it worth the 50% risk, say, of a running back playing for 5 years, getting hit often and having a few concussions, and he walks away netting after all of his taxes and his payout and stuff like that, $4 million? So I've set all of that out. I'm curious what you guys think of the situation.
Well, I feel like I don't think football will ever go scarce or will ever go away, because I feel like as those opportunities come, there's always going to be someone who's willing to put their body and their brain on the line. So I feel like to the average human being who's playing sports or an athlete, that risk is probably worth it for them. You know, the idea of going out there and being able to be set for life, being a superstar, being a role model, going and doing the game or being able to play the game you love. For a lot of people, because that's the other thing too, is that concussions aren't the only thing that can happen to you in football. You can get seriously hurt in football. It has nothing to do with concussions. So I think you just, as an athlete, you just take that risk, and that's what you want to do. And it's you kind of. I mean, I think a lot of sports like that, especially a lot of contact sports, and this happens a lot in fighting, you hear fighters talk about it, is that you just have to find a way to mentally just kind of disassociate yourself from those risks, right? Because it's the same in fighting, right? There's a lot of concussions that happen in fighting, a lot in boxing and the UFC. But I think there's always going to be someone that wants to just go out there and do it. As to whether or not it's immoral, I think that as we get more and more information about it, you know, it really does boil down to the individual's choice. And in that regard, I think it's the parent's choice early on, because the kid can't make the choice for himself. Once you get into high school, and then, of course, in college, you're 18, you can do whatever you want. You know, I don't think it's immoral. I think that it boils down to the onus is on you to educate yourself for whatever you're going to participate in. So, you know, if I'm going to go out there and surf, I need to know, am I going into waters that have sharks in them? Am I going to get eaten by a shark? What's the reality of that really realistically happening? Realistically, not much up here, but there are dangers. There are dangers to everything we do. And now that the information is out, I think it's a different issue. Now people know. Now people know this is an issue, and there's no way to back away from it. And there's no way you can say to yourself, no, that's just that one person. It's not going to happen to me. So knowing that, I mean, it's the same as far as fighting. A lot of people look at UFC and say it's a brutal blood sport. This shouldn't be allowed. This is disgusting. But no one's forcing these people to go into the cage. People are making this choice because A, they love it, and B, they can get paid very, very well if they're very, very good at it. And I don't see anything wrong with that.
That's the big thing, is I don't think football will go extinct. I don't think that's what the path that it's on. The more reasonable path, I think, is talent pool diminishing, the level of play diminishing, perhaps. I think what'll happen is, from what you're talking about there, I think you'll get more stats in terms of what's happening in the youth league. Are these kids getting concussed? Are they really getting bounced around that way? I don't know. I'm not one to say. And I think that I would assume, based on it, I don't think that I'm not one to say. I would say that it probably isn't. I don't remember a lot of my friends who played football coming back concussed or talking like they got bumped around or like screwed up or anything. Like, there were the few kids who could hit really hard and you knew to look out for them, and they were the ones on our team you'd then watch for what they're doing. But I don't remember people doing and talking about concussions on this level. Granted, different time, which I know sounds funny because we're not old, but still 20 years ago or whatever. Not the same. I think then you get into the point of, it's you get to high school and you get to college and you want to start making those choices. You want to start making those plays. That's when it does become this conversation, of what the kid, the teenager wants to do versus what's not. I don't think it's any more immoral, than UFC, than smoking, than drinking. Yeah. Like you know what I mean? Like, how many studies do we need to say that smoking fucking kills you and will give you lung cancer? It doesn't stop people. They know that is a risk that could happen to them, but they choose to go do it. And I think that's what you'll continue to see here. I think because that's the whole thing too of like, imagine if the stats come out tomorrow, there's even more. I guess you already have the stats, right? Imagine if some group popped up and was like protesting outside of football games and doing all these different stuff. They would be the bleeding heart liberals. Don't listen to them. Football fans and players would bite down even harder on what they're doing and on what they're dealing with. I mean, imagine Texas without football, especially from a youth level growing up. I mean, even Missouri, like, you know what I mean? That is such a huge part of life there.
Just college in general.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That I think that, it comes down to personal choice at that point, which I think you'll see maybe fewer people make that choice for sure, but you'll still get people making those choices.
I got a solution.
Here we go.
It's 2016.
Yeah.
No one's feelings can get hurt.
Everyone
totally. Has to be a winner. We're going to flag football. Professional flag football.
Great
the
call.
49ers are going to be the best flag football players that ever existed.
They look like they play like a flag football team. So
that's it. And every other week we're going to switch the quarterbacks out so everyone gets some fair time to play with everybody. You know what? Fuck it. Points don't matter. Whose line is it anyway? That's the future we're going with.
If you really want to look into some fucking balls out sports. People getting jacked. Go to YouTube, put in Carmen Electra lingerie.
Oh, the lingerie bowl, man.
And, no, not football. And I mean,
Look
like,
at the
they are
wrestling, too.
fucking cleaning clocks,
good.
and they are in lingerie. People are getting spun up and dropped down, and people are fucking fighting. Like, Jesus Christ,
Yeah,
calm down, Carmen Electra.
But there is that question, right? Of like, do the pads hurt this or do they help it, right? And do the helmets hurt? They talk about a lot in UFC with the gloves, specifically because you can hit harder with the glove when your hand's wrapped because you're not going to break your hand. Not wearing a glove, you're a lot less likely to keep throwing punches because eventually you're going to break your hand before the person's face. One's going to break, but it might be your hand, right? And so, you know, it begs the question, like, now that we know this, is it just going to get, like, should we just amp up the helmets and the pads? And is that just going to let people hit harder? Or is it a matter of, like, maybe we should go back to no helmets? I don't know. You know
what? Yeah, do we know stats or do you know them? I guess of rugby. Like what we're talking about.
No,
rugby
I don't know anything. Yeah,
rugby's
rugby's a fantastic sport, and I don't know the statistics based on that. They hit differently, and it is a tough sport, but I would contest, and I'm sure that people are gonna be like, you're crazy, or whatever, that the game's actually inherently not as violent because of what Nick's saying. Like if you are covered in pads and a helmet, you like the way a safety launches himself at a receiver in the middle of the field in the NFL is unlike anything you would ever see in rugby, like just period. So because they feel protected or whatever, but it's one of those same things. Like the game, you know, I'm a huge football fan. I think I know the sport pretty deeply, and I really love it. And I can say for sure that the game's getting faster. The people are getting bigger. The bigger people are getting faster, which is even scary because they create momentum. And the game is as violent as ever, but they are trying to actively de-emphasize the violence. A lot of people feel, and I'm sure Greg watches some football, so he knows that like when a hit looks really bad, they often just throw the flag, and say like the guy launched himself, or it's not, you know, it's hitting a defenseless receiver or whatever, because some of the hits are so fucking violent. But then when you watch the video replay, it's like there's nothing violent about that hit at all. It's football, you know.
Clean hit.
They want to get rid of like helmet to helmet and helmet, you know, like safeties and cornerbacks would often launch their head like at a player in the middle of the field would often launch themselves helmet first at a player.
Like Luigi's right B.
Exactly. So that like they would, but like that kind of stuff does damage to the neck and the head and the face area, or whatever. So it's like they're trying to teach like heads up football to like hit in a different way, and they're changing the way the sport's being fundamentally played, or trying, but it's not really stopping it from a ground basis. My whole theory is this: that like and I know it's not meant to sound as a heartless contention, but these guys are getting paid an enormous amount of money to play the game, and they don't have to. I agree with you. Like no one's holding a gun to their head and saying that they have to play it. I think that it's incumbent on the NFL and perhaps youth leagues and perhaps the NCAA to figure out the safest course of action. But I think that with any, like with hockey, for instance, like hockey's a relatively safe sport, except for very specific things like hitting and fighting. And they found that a similar thing with fighting. The enforcer's almost dead in the NFL and the NHL because teams don't need them anymore. They don't really use them. And the goon and the fighting is lower. And similar things have happened with people in the NHL that like fighters and goons that have killed themselves or gone on violent streaks or gone crazy because they had repeated hits to the head because they weren't really skilled players. They just hit. The unfortunate thing in the NFL is a lot of the skilled players are doing the hitting or are getting hit. So if you're a shutdown safety, a strong safety, or if you're a running back getting 20 carries a game for 4 seasons, you're gonna get fucking destroyed.
Yeah.
And the head injuries are inevitable, but I feel like the pay kind of overwhelms the risk. Yet we're talking about like, well, when you go swimming, you get eaten by a shark and all those kinds of things. Like the statistics suggest that like this is a coin flip. And that's what people are that's what people are starting to say. Is
football,
like,
not the shark eating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. People are saying like if you play football for a certain amount of time at certain position, heads you have a fucking traumatic brain injury in 20 years, tails you don't. And you flip the coin for all of them. Yeah. You know, and that's so I understand why people are like get upset about it, why people are sensitive about it. But I think Greg's right. I think that the pool's going to diminish, the talent's going to diminish, and the overall game might diminish. But I'd be super sad to see. I do, but
because I feel like they'll just go outside. I think there will always be someone willing to put their body at risk like that.
No, there still will be, is what we're saying.
And I think maybe it won't be in the United States. Maybe it'll be like what they do in baseball, where you're just looking outside of the country for talent.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, I still think you're still gonna have people playing. You're still gonna have good people playing. It's just gonna have fewer of them doing it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's gonna be banished. I don't think it's gonna be banned. I don't think you have to worry about that. I understand what you're saying. I mean, that already happens, right? That people are out looking outside, but not to that extent. I think there'll be people out there looking for those opportunities. But I mean, I think you're talking about. I mean, like watch like. Dick Butkus film, right? Or the 85 Bears, like amazing team, right? But they'd get fucking shredded. It feels like by everybody you watch now in terms of how they hit, how they play, what happens.
Yeah,
I mean?
I think the game back
fucking speed.
I think the game back then was more violent in some ways because it was like more no holds barred. There was no replays. There were fewer refs until the 80s, I think, or early 90s on the field to watch what was going on.
Trying to run around the entire time.
And so but at the same time, like these players, it is hard. It's the same thing with hockey where people are like, well, Wayne Gretzky is, arguably the greatest goal scorer of all time. And I'm like, yeah, there's no doubt that guy just found ways to maneuver the puck towards the net. And he would be a great player in today's NHL if he was still 25, but is Sidney Crosby or John Tavares or Ovechkin, like these guys are probably faster and stronger, and that's just the way it goes. And so with the NFL, yeah, these guys, I mean, there are 280 pound, 300 pound defensive linemen cruising through an offensive that could probably run faster than anyone in this room. By the way, using all of that momentum to run into a quarterback that's built maybe like you. No, and in the meantime, like maybe the ball gets handed off to a running back built more stoutly, who then gets crushed. In other words, like it's just injuries are inevitable, and head injuries in a sport like this are inevitable, even if you try to play the game safely. I understand, like, because there really is a cry of like, is this immoral? Are we supporting something that's really like actually destroying these men? And I would say no. I would say that, as we were talking about, on Colin and Greg, I think a while ago, sports, whether it's baseball or football or basketball or whatever, is often a way for a person to get a college education, often a way for a person to, in some ways and sometimes, to get out of poverty and to provide for themselves and their family and make a new generation of people that have money and have means and are able to invest and be an entrepreneurial or whatever. But also a lot of NFL players wash out. A lot of them go bankrupt. So it's like a whole kind of convoluted and complicated thing. And also is like the bankruptcy thing in the NFL and all that kind of stuff intrinsically related to the head injuries.
More impulsive.
So there's like a lot of deeper questions that need to be asked, and I feel like they're worth asking. But I feel like football isn't necessarily immoral. I just think that we have to know. We have to just everyone, all sides need to know like what they're getting themselves into. I think football is a beautiful game of chess, and I think that it's an amazing game. It's a brilliant game. It's a game of. I've said this in the past, and people make fun of it, but it's true. A vast majority of NFL players are college educated. It's probably the smartest group of players in any of the professional sports in the United States based solely on that, because you have to be of a certain age, and you don't draft a player out of high school. An 18-year-old would get fucking murdered in the NFL, no matter how big and strong they were. They would get killed. It's like the old argument about when the Browns were really bad a couple years ago and Alabama was really good, the college football team. They'd be like, could Alabama beat Cleveland? I'm like, are you crazy? These are grown fucking men.
Yeah.
They could be the worst NFL team of all time and they destroy the best college team, So like there's such a leap to get to that level, that by the time you get to that level, you have to have a certain strength, a certain speed, a certain gaming acumen. And I think there's a lot that goes into the game that should be really respected, including the study and the film watching. 95% of football is really won before you even get on the field. And so I think a lot of that intellectualism should be respected, but we should also contrast it with the violence of the game and how those two things go together. And I think that's why it's a beautiful sport. It's because it's so violent and so physical, but so intellectual and so smart. But the violent side of it is certainly overwhelming the narrative about the sport today as these guys get bigger and stronger. And so I thought it was worth bringing up as football kind of rages on now and everyone's really into it. Football gets bigger every year.
Is there no like talk about steroid use and things like that? Like, how are these people getting so big? That's
there is some talk of it. I mean, they get tested and stuff, and I feel like they don't do that very well. The PED stuff. It's PED, right? Performance enhancing drugs or whatever. They do test for those things. They test for marijuana and all sorts of other shit. I mean, like Alden Smith and Josh Gordon, all that kind of stuff, are got in trouble for even just smoking weed, or at least Gordon did. But I feel like these guys just work out hard. Like,
but do these people ever get popped for this stuff?
Yeah, they do sometimes, and there's significant penalties for doing that. But most of them don't. They work out really hard. Greg and I last year watched. We love Hard Knocks. This year's Hard Knocks was about the LA Rams, but last year was about the Houston Texans, and they showed JJ Watt, who's a defensive end, who's an amazing defensive player. And his workout regimen, and it's insane. Like, he's absolutely insane what these guys do to get fit. He was basically just in a field throwing tires, and like he sleeps like 10 or 11 hours a day because he works so hard and stuff like that. And
it's like Batman's workout routine in Batman v Superman.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, I just wanted to bring it up. It's something we can talk about again in the future if we want. I'd be interested to see what the audience thinks of it as well, because while I really have a lot of respect for a lot of different sports, I think soccer, for instance, is a really athletic, sport. I really feel like, I appreciate baseball and kind of the thoughtfulness of going and seeing a game and just having a hot dog in the stands and like watching this game play out. I love, obviously I played hockey for most of my life, and I love that sport more than anything, but football has a special place with me, but football draws a dichotomy too, because it really is fucking harsh.
Yeah.
And,
jokes aside, man, like in high school, they wouldn't let us play. We were not allowed to play football when it was our lunch breaks or whatever on the fields. If we weren't on the football team, we weren't even allowed to play flag football.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, if that was happening for me, like I can only imagine the kids nowadays and how like neutered they are in terms of all that stuff. So, but again, that's San Francisco. I'm sure they don't really give too much fucks, but in terms of the talent pool and stuff, I feel like there will always be Texas, and I feel like maybe there's just more people from Texas, right?
Don't worry, everyone.
But it's like if
There's always Texas.
If Texas just becomes the thing where it's like a football breeding ground, so be it, right?
I think the more interesting moral question is one we touched on but got out of, would just be the fact of like how ill prepared most of these players are to deal with being millionaires and to deal with this sudden burst of fame. You know what I mean? Because it is that thing of like, yeah, most are college educated, but there's always the kids who have slipped through the cracks and didn't actually get an education and got, whatever, some shenanigans
The ones
to get through
movies are
there.
made out of.
The guy in Hard Knocks this year who's like, dinosaurs aren't real, and you're like, all right, like what? And he's like, he believed in something else, but not dinosaurs.
Mermaids.
Didn't he work?
Mermaids. He believed in mermaids and not dinosaurs, and you're just like, are you doing this as like a bit on the show?
Small wonder
like,
they're scoring 4.5 points a game.
and so that's the thing, you know what I mean? I'm just like, I think there is a thing of really wealthy owners and really wealthy coaches maybe taking advantage of players they're bringing in and burning them out and putting them out. Because it's just, we know, but you watch Hard Knocks, whatever, and it's so cutthroat of you're off the team. See you later. You know what I mean? Or like,
Yeah, that's the other thing,
Alden
too.
Smith, something's clearly fucking wrong with you. I don't know if it's your family, your upbringing, whatever. You need someone to sit you down and tell you how to be an adult.
Well, that's the other thing too. And I forgot to bring up. I can't remember the guy's name. That the Rams running back who was really good, who only played 1 year or whatever, and then I think 1 year, and then basically just disappeared. And his mom was saying that he was acting like he was 12 years old, and he was totally fucked up after just 1 year of the NFL. Like these things. So what I'm saying is like, I think a little more thought needs to be put into this as well. I agree with you that there's like some sort of, these guys need to go through some sort of finance management, because if you played 3.3 years at the league minimum, after you pay your agent, your tax and stuff, you're still walking away with $600,000 or $700,000 in cash. Like you should be okay to like start a life and invest that or do something with it. And yeah, these guys burn. That is a different issue, but these guys do burn money. Burn through their money. It's a very interesting thing. The NFL itself, compared to the other sports, is just an interesting beast in a lot of different ways because of how profitable it is, how big these teams are, how valuable the teams are, how big the television product is, how the sport grows year on year on year. I mean, we grew up in a time when the NFL was big, but like the NFL is way bigger than it's ever been now. Way bigger than the other sports.
Yeah, it's America's game now.
Yeah, like baseball is no longer really relevant to a large swath of America, but 15 million fucking people will watch Sunday Night Football. That's incredible. Like 15, 20 million people watching a football game? When they could be watching anything else or hanging out with their family or whatever, it's incredible. And so I think as much as I love the game, I do think we have to learn more about how to take care of the players better and all those kinds of things. But I do think that there is not a moral imperative to stop playing. And I don't think that there is a moral imperative to hinder youth playing either, because the argument can even be made at the Pop Warner level. Are they even generating the velocity to hurt themselves? And I think that there's not enough.
They got those little string beans.
But I don't know. There's a million different studies you guys can all read.
I think
the
that's
one kid
the
who got
problem,
the
though, as much
underarm
as
hair.
it's teaching them so that when they can hurt somebody, then they can. That's like teaching kids to fight when they're young. It's like, all right, it doesn't hurt people then, but it's like you can hurt people when you're growing up, and it's when you're in that weird in between age that it can get.
It's an interesting topic for people that don't watch the game. I suggest on Sunday just turn on a game and just watch it. I don't think you can appreciate how violent it is until like you really sit there and don't watch the quarterback, don't watch the ball, just watch everything going on with all 22 players on the field.
It's horrendous.
And
I mean, like that's the thing is, it's just like you see all these like war movies, and then there's these two opposing sides of armies, and then they just run at each other. And every time I see that, like in Game of Thrones last season, like that happened, and I'm just like, what's the goal there? You're just fucking running into each other. Like that's not going to end well for anybody.
You're thinking about the last scene in the intro for the X-Men cartoon. That's what I think.
Yes, the Civil War idea of like these things just running at each other. What is the goal? You're all just going to run into each other and fucking that's it? That's what football is. Over and over and over, and there's a ball being thrown in between.
It's way more strategic than that, but yeah, the idea is to
just run into each other.
Well, they're running into each other to like create a hole or to create a diversion or a block or whatever. That's the intellectually brilliant thing about football, is that like it's super fucking deep. You just have to understand what's going on. It took me a long time to understand it. And there's still things that I learn. And I watch football. I watch literally 5 games a week. So I watch Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night, every week. Every week. Don't miss a game. And it's like,
Now, let me ask you the most important question on this topic. Do you watch Ballers on HBO?
Yeah,
I've watched 2
Ballers.
episodes of it.
Ballers deals with all the issues we're talking about right
Yeah.
now, including the head injuries and the mismanagement of funds. Shout out to The Rock.
The Rock.
What up, Rock?
He
Good
can
job.
do no
Based
wrong.
on a true story.
Go get him, Rock. Good job.
Anyway, as usual, I'll be interested to hear what the listeners think in the comments, or you guys can tweet at me or whatever. I'll be interested to see if there is a moral imperative or not. Because it's a question that's being asked. You guys can and Google around and read. There's some interesting, really fascinating think pieces on both sides of the argument. I mean, there are really people that are out there that be like, football is going to die, and
Over
like
Texas's dead body.
and that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying earlier. Is like the NFL has a big problem when someone dies on the field. Like that's going to be a massive.
I don't think so.
It's going to happen. And it's going
to happen, but
I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. It looked like it happened a few times.
WWE
Yeah, it didn't stop
bounced
WWE.
right back.
Multiple times. WWE's dealt with all of this, and that is the safe.
Oh, that's
fake
true. They
version,
had
right?
was it Chris Benoit? Who was the
Well,
other one?
Chris
that
Benoit
Owen
is
Hart,
the crazy version, and then there's
Owen Hart fell from the
being
rafters.
the actually dude motherfucking died while
Yeah.
people are watching this
Yeah.
shit. So
So
Tim.
it's worth considering.
Timmy, what's your topic?
my topic is about a traumatic experience that I had earlier today.
Oh, today?
Today.
Oh, wow.
Me and Colin.
Was it this shirt?
No, that was traumatic experience number 1.
Have you seen yourself in that shirt?
I have.
Okay.
It's fucking fantastic.
Because I saw that shirt. It was
There's
traumatizing for me.
glitter on certain
At first, I
parts.
thought he had been shot because of the spray out of the side.
Shot, and then it turns out his inside's just made out of
He
some
scratched
sort of
Bandicoot
orange
on the
crush.
inside.
Yeah. I got crashed on the inside. So me and Colin, we went to get lunch. We ordered a whole bunch of burgers. And it was a good old time. We parked my car, and the parking's like a block away from the studio here. We start walking down, and then we got straight up attacked by this dog. And it was a horrifying experience. And by that, I mean the dog just started barking at us and walked up to us and then walked away. But here's my thing. It could have attacked me.
What kind of dog was it?
It was a,
It's
I
a
don't know.
Chihuahua.
No.
A small
Some sort of
min
shepherd
pin.
or something.
A
I don't know. It was a
medium-sized
pretty
Medium-sized dog.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my topic, cats and dogs. We haven't really talked about them ever, surprisingly. I looked
Yeah.
back at the topics. I would have sworn we had done that by now. We haven't. My thing is, why do we trust them? Why do I trust this mangy mutt looking at me, running at me with his, 60 pounds of fury?
Some stray dog?
Well, no, just this.
No,
there's
some
this
wo-
old lady. Hey,
Oh, there was a lady
get back
involved.
here, George.
See,
George?
I
Yeah,
can't-
whatever the dog's
there's
name
a,
was.
There's
Just
a dude
dog
in my
wasn't
neighborhood
listening.
that is clearly a control freak. The guy's like 6'4", and he has these fucking gigantic white dogs. 3 of them. They look like hellhounds. Like they're just fucking like the dire wolves that they found in Game of Thrones that they later, But he's got them all chained to each other, but he's not holding on to them.
What?
They
And
walk
I'm
by
like-
themselves.
And clearly, the guy's like, oh, I think one of them's called Thor. He's like, Thor, come on. And the dog's like, all right. And then he pulls the other one with him. I'm like, what if that dog just attacks a kid randomly?
Then he has
what?
two
I don't
freaking cohorts
understand.
with him.
Like what
boomerang.
runs through people's heads? And I see it all the time in my neighborhood. Where the other day I saw this really old, beautiful black lab just struggling to walk down the street. And I was like, who the fuck? Where's your owner? And I looked down, and all the way at the end of the block, the guy was like, come on. And I'm like, why is that dog not on a fucking leash? And there's cars zooming by. And it's my neighborhood, so it's like Fillmore Street. People are going by. It breaks my heart, man. People are annoying when it comes to their dogs.
Yeah.
You always put Porty on a leash, right?
Yeah, of course. He's psycho. You kidding me?
That's
no.
true.
But why?
Beelines into
I still don't understand the
tire.
question. Why do we trust dogs? I
just
don't
wanna talk
trust.
about
I don't
dogs
trust
and cats.
one fucking dog. If one dog's coming at me barking, immediately I'm getting in the low stance, getting ready to kick, because that's the move. When it's
But see,
jumping
here's
at
my
me,
thing.
I'm kicking at
That's
it.
a perfect example, though. Is all right, so I'm walking with Colin, and I'm not going to lie. I see this thing coming to me. What's my first thought? Got to look cool in front of Colin.
Oh,
Don't act
really?
as scared as you are.
Oh, no,
I didn't
no,
like
no.
that situation at all. I don't know what you were feeling.
I just felt like the dog wasn't going to do anything.
See,
I
don't think
I
that
saw the
way.
woman on the porch. I felt like, because I said afterwards, I'm like, the dog bites me and I sue you. That's cool. That we can play
Kevin
that
got
game.
viciously attacked by a dog when we were younger, and it
believe
was
it.
Kevin,
it
turn
was
on your microphone. I want to hear about
horrifying.
this.
Yep, it's true.
What
I
happened?
got attacked by a dog. So a neighbor friend of mine comes with a golden retriever, beautiful dog, and she's like, "Hey, I found this dog," and I was like, "No, that dog belongs to that house over there." And she's like, "All right, cool." She walks over there, and I watch her from my house, doesn't knock, come back and said, "Nah, they said it wasn't theirs," and I was like, "No, I just saw you not knock," and she's like, "Dude, you think I can keep it?" And I was like, "No." And then the dog just looks at me and is like, "Fuck this," and runs at me. Now the dog is as tall as me, right? When
Sure.
it's on all fours. That was a short kid.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like 4'9" at the time.
Thank God you grew so tall. Thank God from the tiny Deku nut the Deku tree that you are now grew.
I can still take you down right to the ground.
Did you just hear how I take down a dog? It's the same for you. As you lunge, I kick.
And then the dog's on top of me, knocks me down.
Yeah.
I smack my head real hard.
Damn.
And it goes to bite my face. I block with my arm.
Smart.
Now I got a bunch of bite wounds. Well, it was just one bite. But
Did you sue?
No. They just took it and killed it and checked it for rabies. It did not have rabies. Thank fucking God.
That's the shitty thing. First off, I'm a dog lover. I love dogs. Cats can all go burn in hell as far as I'm concerned. Don't like them, don't trust them, and I have a deep feeling that if the cat were bigger than me, he would eat all of us.
There was a story. There was a story about that, right? Didn't we go over that like a while ago?
Yeah. What?
It was like something in the Guardian, like some or
Like
I
cats
think I
would
read in the
kill you
Guardian,
if they
like
could?
yeah, it was something
Yeah.
called like if cats could kill you, they would.
They would.
Like they don't
Yeah.
care about you. They aren't interested
Yeah,
in
there's no
anything you
empathy.
do.
Yeah, if
they
a
are
cat-
just using you, and if they could eat you, they would fucking eat you.
They would eat you.
No, not so I necessarily believe it. But people can go look that up.
I
It's true.
100% believe that. I'm not even going to check it. I'm going to just believe that as fact and go on with the rest of my life understanding that concept. Yeah, I love dogs. I haven't been bitten by a dog though. But even then,
haven't
I
or
felt
have?
I have.
Oh,
I got
tell
bit
me
by.
that story.
I was my
Dog bite
my-
stories. I like
think
this
I told
topic.
this story before. My uncle Vince, who was a former sheriff. Vinny, yeah.
Uncle Vinny.
I got Uncle Vin.
Hey.
Great guy. Used to live out in Paris, California, which is like by Hemet. If anyone knows it, you know. If not, don't even worry about it. But he used to. It's one of those really small towns in Southern California that you'd think like, hey, maybe it'll blow up one day, and it didn't. It never. Not blow up. I mean, like you know,
meth
a
lab.
lot of people will move there, and the town will be booming.
Gotcha.
Never really worked out that way. And he has since moved to Temecula, but he used to raise German Shepherds, and he would train them as police dogs. And one day, I mean, he just had this cage, and they would just like, I mean, it was like the fucking raptors when I would go out there, right? In Jurassic Park, they would just like trace me with their eyes and go back and forth. And as I would walk, they would just like, you know, they would like trace it on the cage. And I'm like, oh, they're police dogs. They're cops, right? These dogs
These are the cops of the dog
are
world.
cops. They're not going to fuck with me, right?
Hello, officer. Just me.
Sir?
Little
Not
fat,
you.
pudgy Nick
Oh my
Scarpino
God, it was-
covered in antipasta.
So to me, these dogs are like these lean, cool police officers, like out of uniform, right? I'm thinking they're gonna like get a belt and a little doggy gun and go out there and like take down some drug dealers. To them, I am a walking donut. Like I am a fucking, because I mean, this is when I was super chubby too. So I was like a kid. I was probably, I could just imagine myself just stuffing Twinkies into my face, looking at these dogs, and they haven't been fed probably like all day. And my uncle's probably like really disciplining them, whatever. So we all go in, and he wanted
Officer Whiskers, get him.
he wants to acclimate us to the dogs, obviously. So he's like, you know, come in and like there's a specific way, you know, to smell your hand, make sure you give them a treat, whatever. But they're not like normal dogs, so don't go in and like
Hug 'em.
try to fuck
Kiss
with
'em.
them, you know, because you know they're gonna bite your fucking head off. And I was like, okay, and I respected that. And I don't know why, for whatever reason, we all turned to leave the cage, and no one told me to not turn my back to them. Because I saw everyone else, and I was the last person in the cage, and I just felt this on my ass.
Yeah.
And it was a dog's. It was one of the dogs.
Yeah.
Just fucking was like, that's a T-bone steak, and I want me some of that, and just
Just like your
clamped
wife.
onto my ass. And I remember being like, it was weird because I wasn't scared. I remember just thinking I must have done something wrong. Like it
I'm
didn't.
sorry,
I don't
officer.
remember it hurting.
Officer Bones, no.
Like I don't remember it hurting. I just remember being like, "Oh shit, this is happening right now." And like, how do I get this dog off my fucking ass? Like it was like my lower thigh. He didn't go straight for the asshole. And all of a sudden, I look over. My Uncle Vince just comes out of nowhere and just like pries it off and like pulls it back, pulls me out of the cage, locks it. And I was fine. Iodine. The dog didn't have rabies or anything like that. But what I felt really bad about was that they had to destroy the dog because it can't be.
Yeah,
They
you can't be an
bring it
officer like
around
that.
other people, right? So not only did it flunk its cop test,
Got the death penalty.
unfortunately they had to
That's
kill it.
that's
And
a high cost for a test.
I've always felt bad about that because on the one hand I'm like, okay, obviously you can't release this dog, can't be around other people.
Yeah.
Like, if it's acting like this, it's not trained well enough. It's going to eventually be a huge liability. It might hurt someone seriously. But on the other hand, I'm like, it's kind of fucked up that we raise dogs, and if it doesn't pass muster, we fucking execute it, right? Like this dog that is not that far removed from a wild animal, right? Just because we quote unquote domesticated dogs doesn't mean that it doesn't still have those primal instincts to like attack and kill things. And then all of a sudden when it does, we destroy it. Isn't that kind of like that's never really sat well with me. Now,
Dog
granted,
eat
if a
dog
cat
world.
attacked me, if a cat attacked me, I'd punt that fucker across the room.
Cats attack all the time.
I don't
Dude,
get-
cats
You,
is
you
just-
just
snap its little
you
neck
do that
and
thing
throw
where you
it away.
roll them over their belly and they're like clawing at your thing. You're, like,
no,
you're
man.
adorable. You're just
Cats
so
are
cute.
they're fucking even more scary than dogs are. So big dogs, obviously they're scary. Small dogs, they have that creepiness about them that I just don't fucking trust. But
Now
cats,
that's Chia infecting you.
What, the small dogs?
Yeah.
No, I've always had a.
Small dogs creep you out?
Yeah,
Small dogs are the
I don't
best, dude.
Animals in general, I'm just kind of like, I just don't trust them. Like, I really don't trust them. I'm like, all right, we're just gonna let this thing on my neck. All it needs to do is, and I'm dead right there in the gullet. I'm done.
Yeah,
fucking done.
and they know-
if I got killed by Portillo,
Yeah.
that'd be the saddest thing ever. But all he needs to do is
awesome.
get his little get his. Jaw
I mean, it would
around
be
me.
sad, but like, think of the story we would have for
I
Kind
know
of Funny.
it'd be great.
How many
It
great
would be-
topics would we
it'd be
have
a great
about
topic
that?
for
You
sure.
guys remember that time Portillo killed Tim? I would insist that Portillo
There'd
live.
be like a whole thing of just like,
would
do we
put-
have to? What do we do with the painting? Like we don't want to take Tim out of it because he means so much. Do we leave his murderer in it as well?
I would insist that we had a trial and that I represented Portillo because I would get him off. I would Johnny Cochran the shit out of that dog.
You're like going
No,
through
but
everything
the
Tim's
cats,
ever
dude,
said.
The cats are scary, and I feel like they always have been because they just do what they want. They obviously don't like us. Dogs seem to like us. So that's when the cats start being all friendly and shit that I'm like,
You're up to something?
you're up to some shit. So I just straight up, dogs are better than cats. We're not fucking stupid here. That's a fact. Everybody understands this. However, my ex-girlfriend had 2 cats. And after staying with her a whole lot, like I kind of grew a fondness for these cats. And it's very similar to like Colin, who I imagine doesn't like small dogs, has a fondness for Lola just because you're around this thing and you're like, man, I can't hate you. So like I kind of fell in love with these cats and I'm like, man, I shouldn't have this positive emotion towards cats because I should fucking hate you guys.
They're horrible.
But they were so nice. They always do that like little making bread thing.
Yeah, making
And I'm like,
biscuits.
what the hell are you doing? And they're just like, "Arr," and they make that little like
They purr.
engine noise.
They
and I'm
purr,
like,
yeah.
this is weird. Everything about this is weird. But that's the thing is like, I know I don't trust them because then when you look at they're so cute. They're doing a little like, and then they're making the bread. But then you see their fucking claws
Yeah,
like
the
coming
fucking
out.
Wolverine claws.
And I'm
Forget
like,
about it.
fuck you guys. Here I am.
Really, first off,
you're letting my guard
retractable
down.
claws, terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying. Raptors
Cool,
have
cool.
retractable claws.
They got razor blades,
Yeah,
man. Like
yeah.
that's the thing is like those things are like weapons of mass destruction. We're just letting these cats walk around the streets. Just no.
What, like,
My
if they-
favorite cat move is when you're petting one and you're getting it in the good spot and it really likes it, and then it just just decides, no, I'm done. It turns out it bites you.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, cats are strange. Like I grew up with cats, and I like cats.
too.
I've had a few cats that are important to me, and I appreciate them and I love them. They are like animals that like love you on their own terms. And what I always really loved about the certain cats I had, where it was like they only like a few people. They don't really have time or care about anyone else. They're like skittish as hell. But like they do show affection in their own way. I think that it's a little dramatic for like that piece for being like they'll kill you if they could. I'm like, I'm not sure that's necessarily true. I think that they're just unpredictable and a little wily. Like they're just, and I think they're a little
they would
fucked up.
absolutely
I think
kill you, and here's why I know that because mountain lions will fucking kill you, and they're not that far.
show it a wolf though.
It's true.
So
That's true.
So the I just
Flawed.
It makes like, you know what? I didn't think this through at all.
think that
You know,
through at all.
my apologies.
That's my
on that one.
point though. I don't trust any of them. You're right.
But like cats, I'm like these days as an adult, like we had Chloe for a long time at our apartment.
Right.
We loved
That
like
was
she
a
was
cat.
she was Mike Mitchell's cat. She was fucking weird. Like she was definitely like a character. Like she was definitely just a weird fucking character that lived in our house. That was just she like loved Mike. Like it was so like, and it was interesting to watch. Like I was her second. Like she would hang out with me like all the time. Mike wasn't there, but you could tell how Mike even came into the apartment. So like sight unseen, she'd just be like, I'm out. Like when Mike came in and I'd never see her again until Mike left, and then she would come sit with me or whatever. Lola, I really do love. I adore Lola. And it's funny because my exposure, my friends had dogs as a kid and stuff, but I've only lived with a couple of dogs that painted a certain image of a dog in my head, different images, but a certain image, certain images nonetheless of dogs where I'm like, this isn't for me, which is like in college, I lived with a pit bull for a little while who was named Mimi. Who was really cute, but like fucking crazy. And you want to talk about a dog I didn't trust? I'm like, nah, like you could fucking kill me. I remember like just like sitting on the couch next to it and being like, you could just murder me right now if you want to. But
she didn't, Tim.
but then with Portillo, it's like, well, Portillo is like kind of just a lap dog and like kind of just sits around and stuff like that. I'm like, that's not exciting to me either, right? Like So like people
best.
like certain dogs or certain kinds of cats, and that's cool. But with Lola, who's a Boston Terrier, and Boston Terriers are notoriously crazy. She has like an incredible personality, and so that drew me into being more interested in dogs, because I'm like, this is the first dog I lived with that has like a real like outgoing personality where like
Right.
I'm like, you're kind of crazy, like, and I kind of like
She's
it. But,
a sweetheart, too.
and she's so super good natured. She would never hurt anyone, and like,
But she hurts me all the time.
Well, because she's trying to get on your. She doesn't realize she has like
See, these are
claws.
lies. Everybody just they live in their bubbles and they think that these little furry creatures are nothing but fun. All they are is little portable claw attack machines.
Yeah, they
that
are.
just claw and attack.
You know what they're like?
She's not trying to attack you,
mousers in TMNT, the little things that like came at you and just started biting. That's exactly what they
Especially
are.
when she had a little butt.
Yeah.
Shout out to her little butt.
Yeah,
little
Lola,
butt.
I do
Lola,
like the
shake,
little
Lola
butt.
shakes her
But
butt.
this is
and
what I'm
all-
saying. They lure us into this like
they're too
thing
cute,
where they're like, oh,
and
we're
they kill
so
you.
cool, and then they fucking kill you.
They kill you.
So the thing
No,
is,
Lola lures you into the thing, and then she gets up and audibly farts next to you. That
Yeah.
was today when I was working from home. She gets up and just lays down. I'm like, oh, you can't. I'm like, God,
yeah,
oh God.
that's the other
Okay,
thing about
now
Boston
Portillo
Terriers.
has shit his pants before.
all the
though.
dogs. I mean,
Yeah.
all dogs have, but I mean, again, it's another Boston trait that they're really. bad
Bostons
at.
are stinky.
Yeah.
and they snore.
Yeah,
It's
it's
unfortunate.
because of their nose or whatever. It's
Yeah.
interesting because apparently like their bodies don't smell at all. Like I give her like a bath a week, but like she never smells. But like she'll fucking fart 7,000 times.
Oof. Yeah.
So she turned me like she kind of turned me on to this certain kind of dog where I'm like, okay, like I actually like and appreciate dogs more than I realized. It was just that I didn't really encounter on a personal level the dog that I would vibe with, if that makes any sense. I don't want a lap dog. I don't
you fall
want
in
a
love.
fucking crazy pit bull. I want like she's like a good natured kind of nut job, and she's like really she's sweet, you know, like and so that kind of turned me on, and I've been talking about that with Aaron lately and other people where I'm like, this turned me on to the whole world of dogs. I'm reading about them, I'm trying to learn about them, and I've made mistakes. You witnessed one of them, which was like I didn't have her food because I don't know anything about dogs, so I'm learning. I didn't have her food, so I just bought her other food and I gave it to her, and then she shit all over the apartment.
Yep, that happens.
And I'm like, and Aaron's like, why would you change her food? You can't do that. And I'm like, I didn't know that. How the fuck would I know that? So I'm like,
I just gave her cat food. I thought it was all the same. It
so,
doesn't matter.
So like, and I feel bad about that too, because she was that morning, she was like all like on my chest as I was getting up, and she was trying to tell me she wanted to go outside. I'm like, oh, you're just being very affectionate. And then I ignored her. And then an hour later, she's like, I can't hold it anymore. I felt really bad for her. But it turned me on to it turned me on to a certain kind of a dog and realized that I like dogs. I think that my love of dogs is, especially because I'm with Lola all the time. Erin works like really long hours and's gone a lot of time, so like I'm with her constantly, and she and I have just bonded in a very specific way. So my love of dogs is waxing as my love of cats is actually waning, because I realize the advantages of having a dog. Now, having a dog's a fucking pain in the ass. Like in many ways, way more ways than having a cat.
Yeah, I feel like that's why people pick cats, right? 'Cause
But-
cats,
Yeah, they're easy.
If left to their own devices, they'll figure out how to hunt.
No,
themselves.
growing up, that was the whole thing. I grew up in a cat household, and that was the thing of like, oh yeah, I grew up with cats. I love cats. Cats are better than dogs. Da da da. But then like being removed, and then having Portillo for so many years, and then when we reintroduced Chloe, I was like, oh man, no, cats kind of suck. It's tracking litter all over the house, and this thing, and then you gotta clean the shit out of the stinky box and all this stuff, and it's pooping in your house, and it's a thing, and blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, it's a pain in the ass of let's walk Portillo, let's do this. Where I can't just leave Portillo unattended for a weekend like I could a cat. You know, when we used to go camping, we had cats, you just left out extra food.
You just
clean the
you
litter
put
box
like,
and be fine.
You put like 3 birds in there and just lock
Go.
them in, and we're like,
Have fun.
You're good. You're fun.
You gotta hunt. This is how we keep you wild.
Damn.
But I thought it was. Oh, it took years before I reflected back of like, oh man, like no, I really like dogs better than I like cats. Like just you get more out of the relationship. I feel.
See, I've never. Maybe it's because I've never had a positive interaction with a cat. Like I've never bonded with a cat. All of my experiences with cats have either been neutral or extremely negative. And the first one that comes to mind is the first when I moved up here. I moved into Brisbane, California, which is Brisbane is a very, 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 very small town. It's not even a town. It's more like 5 houses in like a 7-Eleven. Yeah. But I didn't know anything about the area, and I couldn't afford to live in San Francisco. So I was like, Brisbane. There's a Craigslist ad. The guy needs a roommate. Brisbane, great.
And it's right where you work.
And it's right where I worked because the old IGN offices were in Brisbane. Important thing. Moved there. The guy's like, "Are you okay with cats?" I'm like, "I'm a little bit allergic, but I'll be fine." Until I see this cat. Okay. And I can't express to you the feeling of locking eyes with this animal for the first time and seeing pure evil. I just don't know if you've ever had this feeling before. This thing was long, very lean, pure white. White like it's something that scared the dickens out of it, or it was just a ghost running around.
One-eyed.
One-eyed, wore a patch, had a peg leg. No. But the thing with this cat was, and the guy warned me. He was like, look, the cat's a good cat, but occasionally it likes to just jump on your head. And I was like, I know, are you serious about this? And he said, yes. Occasionally, it'll just come up and you just push it off. It's fine. It'll go away. So I'm watching TV late the first night. The guy had already gone to bed. And I didn't realize the cat was out. Because cats, by the way, when they're on carpet, you can't fucking hear them coming. It's not like a dog, you could always hear coming. Dogs aren't subtle. This cat
100%.
was a ninja. And I just felt something behind me on the couch. And all of a sudden, this fucking cat comes up behind me. And Greg, I need you to hold this mic like
You
this.
got it.
The cat comes up behind me. I didn't even see it. And it just goes like this. And then it starts to lick the back of my head. And at this point, I'm so scared right now that I actually can't move. I eventually got the damn thing off me, but I was like, this cat cannot be around me more.
When I
Ever since
got
then,
my
I've hated
first
cats.
cat, Gizmo, got her as a little kitten. Adorable cat.
Great name for a cat.
Yeah, she was great. Loved her. Fell in love with her. She was a good cat. Gizmo fucked up in the head. Personality of cats, right? She was taken away from her mother too early. So for the next decade or however long this cat lived, what she would do is at night.
Try to suck your nipple.
No, at night she would go into the kitchen, bite the towels off of the oven, and then drag them in her mouth through her legs, moaning. So as a young kid growing up, you have a banshee in the house all night long. And like, you eventually figure out, no big deal. You know what I mean? That's
Sure.
okay, cool.
Sure.
Next cat
Not
I get is
annoying.
Cuddles. Cuddles an adorable little cat, right? Little gray kid.
Who's naming these cats?
Me. I'm a kid. I'm a dumb kid. You know what I mean?
You did the
Gizmo
cats?
for Gremlins.
Sure.
Cuddles because Cuddles cuddled with me. Like as soon as I got her out of the thing, she cuddled up with me and wouldn't let go of me. Pokey 1 because of Ernest Goes to Camp. Pokey 2 also because of Ernest Goes to Camp. Now these are turtles. I should have pointed that out. These are turtles. Sorry. I had a guinea pig named Iggy for Iggy Wiggum on The Simpsons.
That's awesome.
Really deep cut of the hellfish. Anyways, though, I get Cuddles, right? Trying to bond with this cat. Try to, we have a whole day together. All right, go to bed that night. Wake up, cuddle. And this must have been Gizmo, I guess. They all run together. Cats are stupid. Yeah. Well, I go to bed the first night with Gizmo, I assume it is then. And I wake up, and it's the first cat I've ever had. This is the first cat then that wants to sleep with me, right? Because my parents' cats, they didn't want anything to do with me, right? You know what I mean? These cats were old. They knew my parents.
Yeah.
By the way,
They'd seen some shit.
if you're looking for like how I got good at naming cats, one of my parents' cats, Runt Face. Because he was the runt of the litter, called him Runt Face. Runt Face was a son of a bitch.
That's like what happens when you let
Runterson.
That's like exactly. It's like what happens when you have a public
vote on
public
the
voting.
internet.
Yeah.
Anyways, I wake up that first night with Gizmo because she's the first one. She's a kitten, and I wake up and just feel this her tail across my neck. But I'm a little kid. I'm like 6 or 7. Tail across my neck, and rather than me think it was the cat I just got this today, thought it was some kind of monster or a giant spider.
Yeah.
And threw off the covers and screamed and ran around the house for a second. Gizmo didn't sleep with me for a long time, but.
Was that Gizmo's choice or your choice?
No, I mean, that was Gizmo's choice. She was like, I don't know what just happened. I
kid's
don't need to be a
insane,
part of this.
right?
I don't need to be a part of that. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
No, I get it though, man. Those cats, like they do that thing. You see it on Reddit all the time, like the startled cats.
Yeah.
Where it's like, what are they looking at? I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know what they're reacting
Ghosts.
to.
They
Is
can
there a
also see
fucking
ghosts.
ghost there?
Yeah, that's the other thing.
It's like-
Can they see through dimensions?
Probably.
You catch animals do it. Portillo
They
just
see
be
some
staring at
shit.
stuff all the time. Like, what do you
I
see,
I do not fuck
motherfucker?
with this. The thing with Kevin, you're gonna need to get back on the mic because you need to give me some fact checks here.
Here we go with some fact checks.
These cats are fucking crazy. Kevin's not always. He had 2 dogs. He had Zeus and Thor.
Yeah,
they were
Zeus
little
and
fucking
Thor.
French poodles.
Wow.
Thor, for some reason,
Miniature French
Not
poodles.
what I expected when
They
I heard
weren't
the
mine.
names.
They
There was
weren't
his older
mine.
sisters.
I named
Well, I
them.
didn't think they were yours.
He did name them, but Thor could only pee if it was on his front legs and did a handstand. He would
Handstand
just pee
every
everywhere.
time.
It was just like, this is not efficient at
And
all.
it's like
Damn
Thor,
crabapes.
you can see Zeus pee normal.
but then
just pee normal.
they eventually go away. I don't remember what happened to them.
Where'd they go? Valhalla?
One is a Greek god, so you look dumb. So
My
that's
apologies,
Olympus.
sir.
At some point, these dogs are gone, and I don't remember.
They
My
die? What happened to
No,
them?
yeah, my sisters. They were my sister's dogs. They each had a dog, and
They
I
ate
got
'em?
screwed. No, they like were terrible at taking care of them, so they like gave them away to some old lady on Craigslist. They gave them filet mignon.
Okay.
So
Steak.
eventually, there's this stray fucking cat that keeps going to Kevin's house, and eventually, it has babies
Oh, that
underneath.
was Roy. Yeah, you talking about Roy?
Roy
know
had
what
babies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I didn't know it was a boy or a girl. She just kept coming here, and I was like, "It's
He
named
names his
Roy."
cat Roy. It ends up being a woman.
Short for
It ends up
Royale.
having a lot of babies underneath his sister's bed.
Yep.
So I don't remember exactly a lot of the details.
So
aren't
wait, while
important.
Kevin's sister's making babies on top,
Uh-huh.
Roy's popping them out.
popping them out at the
downstairs.
bottom, just fucking 1, 2. I don't even. There was a whole bunch of them. But
5. There were 5.
there was one.
Blood and
There was
afterbirth in
one
the
that
Coelho
was
house
like-
that evening.
One needed a little extra help, and because it was a little stupid. It was a stupid cat.
No, it was sick. It had a nasal infection, and we took it to the vet, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this cat's dead. You gotta just put it down. It's gonna be dead.
This cat's dead.
You can pay
Declared by the doctor.
Kevin
So
Coelho
what does
says
Kevin
no.
A. Coelho do?
No, it's my sister.
Iron
but-
lung.
He says, "Fuck this." So he fucking milks a cat. He
Oh,
milked
you're
Roy.
talking about the milking?
He milked Roy. He actually milked the
Well,
fucking cat.
when they were first born.
What's wrong with you, Kevin?
No, there's nothing wrong. So when
He
they were-
wanted to
no,
save a
listen,
life.
Listen.
Do you know the one
about me? You
shortage?
gonna
Do you know
milk
the
me, fucker?
shortage we have in America of cats? I'm glad he did this.
Yeah, them and rabbits.
Yeah, when Roy had babies, all the cats were trying to eat.
Nurse.
Yeah, nurse.
Yeah, sure.
And nothing was happening. And like my mom started freaking out. She's like, "What do we do?" I was like, "Well,
You get a rock.
Stray cat, by the way, that just started living in their house.
Yeah.
we had cat
Roy.
food there for Julia. There was another cat that would come around.
Oh, not
my
your sister.
Well, well, I don't get it. What?
I'm not sure I do either.
Why do we do
Anyway.
that shit too? I had a
So
cat
yeah,
once
I milked
that
a cat once. It was
that
not a
had
big
babies,
deal.
but it decided to have the babies. It had the kittens behind the fucking dryer, like the worst spot. Like,
I mean,
how
well,
did? Why?
Under his
My dad was
sister's
pissed.
bed is probably
was
a really
hot.
bad place too.
Yeah, it was really deep under there
Stinky.
too.
So this little
And
this
she only,
cat,
Roy only liked me at the time. She was still a stray, and no one else could get around, or else she'd get all feisty.
because he had the baby.
But except for me, because I don't know, she just liked me and let me milk her.
So Kevin would milk this cat. And I couldn't even
No,
handle
you
it
just
back then.
you do it once, and then once you get the fucking factory going, it does itself.
So
Was there a blockage?
Yeah, I
Did
mean,
the first squirts come out like cottage cheese?
I don't. It just wasn't happening.
Was she like? Was she
You
was
just
like
give a little
bulbous
massage.
milk glands?
You do it for people too when they're first having babies. You sometimes got to massage a little bit in there.
How many titties you massaged for the mamas?
Oh, I know what I'm doing. with
Kevin
my
has
hands.
a standing ad on Craigslist for that service.
It's just a photo of him like this and that
It's
Kevin
just him
grin.
and
So we milked this damn cat. He saved this kitten's life. That kitten then becomes his cat that he named Forrest.
Forrest.
That lived a very long life.
For Forrest Whitaker?
No, he lived
Forrest Gump.
7 years. It was very sad.
7 years. And it was
It was terrible.
that was the fucking worst cat in the world. Because
No.
he was nice.
Little
I
four eyes.
semi-trusted him because Kevin milked his mother for him. and brought
Kevin,
him back
did you
from
no?
the dead.
When you started the milking, did you have to suck it out and then squirt
Yeah.
it in?
Was it
No.
like getting gasoline out of a hose
just-
when you're like sucking out of a car?
First of all, they got little nipples, so you're doing 2 at a time.
I wouldn't know.
You've never seen a cat's nipples?
I mean,
are you
sure I have.
holding
I
the
haven't-
cat
I
over the
haven't my
bucket?
mouth
Like
on.
I don't think no
No,
cat
man.
I know would like to chill out this long.
The cat was totally fine with it. Roy loved me, so she just laid back, and I was like, "All right, man, we're just gonna do this." I massaged a little bit on each one, moved down, like they would start tearing up with milk, and then the kittens would just latch on, and then you go to the next ones, next pair of kittens latch on.
You're a good Samaritan.
Fucking A, dude.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
So one night I'm sleeping over at his house and I'm on the floor in his living room with a sleeping bag.
Please
right?
tell me Kevin milks you in your sleep.
Oh God, no. And I'm sleeping, and then I wake up, and it was just kind of chilling in the morning. All of a sudden, I feel something move at my feet,
Oh, God.
and I was unaware that the cats were fucking in this house. And I like pull the sleeping bag up, and there's just fucking cat in my feet, and it comes running up on me. I've never been more scared in my life. I might have shit myself
Did it
right
hurt you?
there. But that was when I was like, "Fuck this! I don't trust animals. I definitely don't trust Kevin."
See, the problem
Nothing
is
about
you're
this
the
is
pussy.
good.
You're a pussy like Poe, because Poe is the same way. Where I remember distinctly having a sleepover when we're going to bed or whatever, and Cuddles went over there. Now Cuddles, if I'm lying, I'm dying. It's him. Cuddles has 2 distinctive traits, neither of which are important to the story. I feel the need to tell you. So you know how cats, their paws look like this, right? Give me the overhead cam. This is what paws on a cat's look like, right? They got no thumbs, right? Yep. If I'm lying, I'm dying. Cuddles had thumbs. She had little mitten hands. I should have called her mittens. I was such a dumb kid. But anyways, so there's that, right? And then, because I just imagine these cute little baseball mitts. Come on, go back to this. Imagine these cute little baseball mitts making the biscuits on you, all right? That's what this is going to be key to the story. For no reason whatsoever, I'll also tell you, Cuddles blind in one eye, or at least one eye totally fucked up, right? Because we noticed that she'd try to jump from the bed to the windowsill and miss it all the time and bite it and like hit the wall and fall down. And then
Cat's like, one day I'm gonna make that jump.
Kev, I'm gonna need overhead cam again. This would be a toy, right? And Cuddles would come in to play with it, but she would immediately yank this paw, her left paw, into her face. And then like she'd be like this, she'd like this, she'd like where like a normal person would play like this.
Hey, that's not cool.
A normal person would play like this. Cuddles would play like this. And like not be able to ever get it. So we went there and it turns out when she was a kitten, horrible story, someone tried to kill her with a BB gun. They shot her in the back of the head with a BB gun thinking they would kill her and threw her in a dumpster. Didn't kill her. She shows up at animal control. I come in looking for a winner. I find Cuddles. I take Cuddles.
Where the fuck did thumbs come from?
Oh, that's just, a birth defect, whatever.
Chernobyl.
Cuddles one day at a sleepover, I don't know, we must be in junior high, grade school, whatever, is making the biscuits on Poe's chest. And he starts panicking. I'm like, don't worry. She's declawed in the front. It's going to be fine.
declawed your cat?
Yeah, well, that was the family thing. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. And then he panicked enough that Cuddles then got freaked out and ran across his chest and tore his chest open with her back claws. Yeah.
See? Fuck these cats.
Yeah, you can't trust them.
You talking shit about Poe?
Yeah, that's right.
Fuck biscuits. Or
Maybe if
whatever the
he
hell his
wasn't a
name
big,
was.
maybe it wasn't
Cuddles.
a big. Biscuits would also be a good name for her. Fuck, you should have been around when I was naming this cat.
My God.
The other one was named Tigger.
Disaster.
And I didn't even like Winnie the Pooh. I don't even know how I got that.
My friend James threw his cat at me one time. He just fucking threw him at me, and this motherfucker, I swear to God, he got 6 hits on me.
Oh wow.
In the air.
Yeah?
I don't even know. I mean, they have 4 legs, so it was like one of those things where it's like punch 1, kick, punch, kick, and then 2 more.
Wow, that's really good.
And it sliced me up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck this little shit. But then I found out that this cat just roams the streets looking for fights.
Oh wow, okay.
Just fucking, I'm sure, like I can imagine, I can see it in my head, this cat just going out, finding raccoons and being like, you feeling lucky? You want to fuck?
Yeah.
And that raccoon's like, damn, really? And then they fucking fight. And you've
they
seen
fuck-
that.
they fight, not
you've
fuck, okay.
Well, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But I've seen this cat come back and he's looking scrappy as shit. Like he'll walk in, like I'll be at James's house. This cat will walk in and look at us and be like, yeah, what's up? Just walk through. He looks fucked up as hell, but he looks like
I'm
he
alive.
accomplished
I'm
something.
alive.
Yeah.
Final thing about how weird cats are, right? Because like I had the 3 cats. They were great. Socialized.
3?
You know what I mean? Yeah. You remember I dropped Tigger there at the end.
You're right, Tigger.
So we had these cats, my
forget?
cats, they were totally social, whatever. Yeah, I go to I guess way to college, yeah, and come back and mom and dad had picked up these like weirdo cats. They were like feral or whatever. They were trying to make them not feral anymore. They were doing all right with it. But these cats didn't want anything to do with me and Poe when we'd be down in the basement playing video games, whatever. So one day, Poe and I decide, we're sick of this. We're catching these cats and we're gonna pet them. Because that's, if there's anything a crazy cat likes more, it's getting caught by 2
Giants.
teenage boys, I don't know, and getting petted. You know what I mean? So we basically trap them in the utility closet. You know what I mean? Utility room over there with the water heaters and the things in your basement. You know what I'm talking about. Poe gets down in a hockey goalie stance, knees on the ground, because I'm gonna flush this cat out to him. Right? It's gonna have nowhere to go. He'll be able to scoop it up. If I'm lying, I'm dying, Tim. I flush this cat out. It comes out, sees Poe, runs back to me, sees me, runs back out, and then I don't know how runs up the wall and around Poe. He got away, and we were like,
Pulled the Bo Jackson on you.
well, we've just seen a cat that can defy physics. It had enough speed that it was able to get, and then 6 or 7 paws on the wall to be over this. I mean, it was insanity. My topic.
Great.
Is another morality hypothetical question, all right? I'm in Anaheim last week. I'm in bed. Shirts off. Lights are off. Flipping through the TV, though. I want a little bit of TV before I go to bed. I don't like this often, but I want to see something. What do I run into, Nick Scarpino?
The Martian.
I run into The Martian.
We talked about
the
this.
one and only. Well, not my topic, but yeah, we talked about the fact that we both...
had a great shared experience we didn't even know we were having. We're
Yeah.
both in bed, shirtless,
Yeah.
probably pantsless.
Yeah, of course.
And,
you sleeping in the nude there?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, me too. I love those starch sheets all over my body.
Because I like to know that no matter how dirty I am, the sheets are going to be clean the next day. If you know what I mean.
Sure, I know what you mean. Yeah, okay. So
Yeah,
Martian's on. I like The Martian a lot.
Yeah.
Haven't seen it in a while. Watch up until they inform the crew. I'm like, I feel like I've seen it from here.
I'm going to stop right there and express that we were in separate rooms while this was happening. I feel like that was a piece of information.
I feel like
that
people would have known that. I mean,
Just throwing it out there.
I would have known if you were naked in the bed with me.
Experience. We were both shirtless and pantsless, and we were both watching The Martian. At no point
I did have bunk
did I
beds.
say that we were in other rooms. I'm just
okay,
clarifying.
There
we
were
in other
bunk
rooms.
beds in our rooms.
Yeah,
That's the
we had
thing.
family suites. Why not? Here's what I want to know. Let's say technology's not there yet. I know, but let's say technology gets there in a little bit, right? Would you watch a spaceman in space die? And what I mean by this is, let's say we have an Apollo 13 situation. We have a similar Martian situation, but basically we have a capsule out there that we can't get back. Human being in it, and he's got the ability to live stream, right? And even if, and I'm not even sure about the legality of this, or you could probably check me. Remember in The Martian, they talk about how much time they have before the world's going to know that Watley's still up there, right?
Right.
Because their concern was they didn't want to send down if they took any photos. They're a publicly or they're a public corporation. That's not what I'm looking for.
It's public domain.
Public domain. Thank you. That they'd have to share those photos. People would see his body. Actually, I'm sorry. It's before they'd see his body dead on the planet. So if that's the case, and we can just say Watley or whatever, our spaceman out there tumbling through space is broadcasting back to NASA, and he's just going to talk to them until he dies. Would you watch that footage?
Yes.
Although the situation, I would have to.
Yeah, me too.
Well, your situation is different because I think you're talking about two different things. Watley wasn't stranded in space.
Yeah.
So Watley was on a planet with at least some way to survive for a little while. It's fucking scary, but he's on Mars, as opposed to a runaway capsule that's just hurtling through space at 30,000 miles
Even if
an
it's
hour.
just stuck in the orbit of the moon or whatever. It's just orbiting. You know what I mean?
Well, because I think it's a little
we
different.
can't get it back.
That's
Okay.
to me, that's way fucking darker
Yeah, 100%.
than dying at least on a planet with space to
and that's
move
why
and
don't get.
not in a
I'm just saying
coffin.
we can use Watley's name. I'm not as experienced. I'm talking about a spaceman in space. We have lost the shuttle. We have lost this capsule, and there's no way we can get it back. And there's nothing they can do. It's gravity is maybe a better thing. You know, Sandra Bullock's in that one space thing before whatever happens.
Sure.
You know, would you watch that footage? Because that would be his final moments. He knows what's happening. He's communicating with NASA, talking to you, leaving a message for his family. He knows he's being live streamed.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is if he knows that he's being watched, then I think that like it would be be terrible, but it'll be also be a kind of an historic thing to watch. As dark as that is, it's like maybe he like what does a man? We've never lost someone like that.
Yeah.
Everyone that's like died in our space program has actually died on the planet,
Yeah.
not in space. So. Apollo 13 was about as close as we ever got to that. So, and maybe some low Earth orbit shit, but I mean, not out there past the Van Allen belt or anything. Has anyone like actually died?
It's conceivable though that when we actually do send a manned mission to Mars, that's a very distinctive possibility.
It's conceivable with every space flight. Every space flight, something
can go wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything
a million
can go
little
wrong.
things
Oh
can
my
go
God.
wrong. But when we do have private corporations doing it, chasing each other, trying to go faster, and I think that's another reason I thought about it with like the
SpaceX
rocket that
explosion.
recently exploded. Yeah, and Elon Musk and Virgin Galactic. Like people are pushing for this, and that is going to come. I mean, I think it was Virgin, right? When they lost that plane, they lost the pilots inside them. They died on Earth, I should say. Richard Branson's quote, whatever, was just like, "This sucks." We thank their families, we thank them, but these are the growing pains this goes through as we continue to reach for the stars, kind of thing.
I mean, and also you add the other side of it, like GoPro is going to be pushing to do that stuff. Like they're already doing that. Like the guy that jumped out.
Oh, the Red Bull dude.
Red Bull
Yeah, yeah.
GoPro.
Yeah.
That whole kind of. Even today, we were watching a video of some dude jumping out 4 stories down into a pool, and there's this guy blowing up. I forgot what his name is. It's 88 something. His whole Instagram page is just him jumping off of crazy shit.
Yeah.
He trespasses, then jumps off mountains or hotels or crazy things. And it's like people have a fascination with that type of stuff, and GoPro and Red Bull are kind of
Fueling it?
really, fueling like all of that.
lack of a
And
better term.
but I mean, taking this question to a much more like right now scenario, it's like, with social media and Facebook, we've talked about it so much. Like people are just desensitized to stuff, and like let's take even movies and like the media out of it. It's just more like just what people are posting. All the stuff of the cops shooting people and all that. Those videos are public. They are being shared, not behind paywalls, not behind hidden things of, are you sure you're 18? Are you sure you want to see this? Sure. It's just being shared on your Facebook wall. And there is that morbid curiosity people have of wanting to see those things and be in the know. They want to have seen the thing to be able to say what they think about it. And I think that's where it gets really kind of messy. And like I've been in that position many times. Like, years ago there was the what's his name? Saddam Hussein and all that stuff.
Oh,
the
yeah,
videos. And it's like, it's out there. And it's like, do you want to see that or no? It's like, why would you want to see it? But there is the fact that that's even a question is there. Everybody has to answer it. It's totally out there. But now it's getting to the point that it gets thrust upon you whether or not you want it to. I've seen some shit on Facebook that I'm like, I've unfollowed some people because I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to prove a point about like Americans need to be more knowledgeable about what's going on. I'm like, I don't need to see the decapitations going on. I don't need to see all this shit. But it's like, if that stuff is so readily available, that thing's going to be live streamed, and that's going to be a national event.
Yeah, I feel like for that, in that regard, like I know it sounds kind of silly because there would be hundreds of, probably millions of people listening at this point, but I would want to be there for that person. Like on some level, like if I were that person, I'd be like, I don't want to be dying alone. Knowing that there are people out there, maybe they can't hear me or maybe I can't hear them or whatever, but knowing that there are people out there like with me on this would be, I would like to believe that that's somewhat comforting. And that, like, I think we all
you're not alone. You're not just hurtling through
anyone
space.
who supports space exploration or any sort of exploration like on that front. You can't just have the good. You would have to be there for that. You would have to experience that because that is a very real reality of what we are going to face as we push farther and farther out into the solar system. But yeah, I don't know. It's morbid, but I think,
even outside of the space stuff, I mean, I think that there is definitely a lot. You know, humans are very complex creatures, and it's like there's a lot to be learned from the emotions of that, and like dealing with something. Like if that's happening, it's happening, and if you're there for it and being able to experience their final moments, and like that it's their final moments, like that's something that's really kind of, it's dark, but it kind of can teach you something about your outlook on life.
Sure, how precious life is and all these other things.
And it reminds me of like videos, like recently we talked about kind of the opposite of this, of watching videos that are just pure happiness moments, like the first time someone sees, or like when their child is born, or like things like that. But, you know, recently I came across this video that was a cell phone, or I guess it must have been a digital camera video of September 11th from like 10 blocks away of these kids in a college dorm as shit's going down, and like when the second building gets hit, and they're all losing their minds because they're fucking scared because they have no idea what's going on running the elevator and shit. And it's just like watching that is like, it's powerful. And I felt like watching that video, even though I know how all that shit went down, it changed me. It made me really think about stuff in a different way. And it's like, I think that there is like a weird educational side to putting yourself through those experiences when they're real. You know, you can watch movies and you can see Mufasa die, and that can hit you, and you can relate that to things. But when it's real shit, that's a whole other level where you're like, fuck. Like, life is precious. You need to be very careful with it, and you need to kind of spread that positivity in the words to people of just like, you know, use your life for good.
Sure. Yeah, it's weird. I think we're using it'd be an interesting, you know, flip of if it was being live streamed and he didn't want people to watch it. And then if they, you know, I mean, if I don't know why they wouldn't
that would be
turn it off or
horrible.
something. Yeah.
Then that would just be despicable in that case. But I have to imagine that any astronaut that's brave enough to go out there would probably, I don't know. I mean, because you think about that, right? You're thinking about those last moments in The Martian, which granted it's a total make believe. But what if they hadn't gotten him, right? And then you think back to it was I forget what year in the 80s it was with the Challenger explosion.
86,
where I don't think I watched that live, but people did, right? There were people that were like, "Oh, this is awesome. We're launching it," and then in moments, and just like that, all of them are gone. So it's just it's crazy, but that is reality, and those are those moments where like you have a gut check moment where you're like, "Am I desensitized to this, or can I still feel human feelings when it comes to like these basic emotions of wanting to see people live and thrive?" I don't know. It's pretty crazy.
It is. Nick.
Yes.
What's the final topic?
Total 180 from morally objective things. This comes from Patreon. Our good friend Kenny Char.
Get a charge.
On patreon.com/kindoffunny says, do a watch and react for VR porn. But since we're not going to do a watch react VR porn, I wanted to open that subject up to you guys. What are your thoughts on VR porn? Because I know that we're all hopelessly addicted to porn, except for Greg, who chooses to read his porn.
Literotica.
Via Literotica.
Expand your mindset.
Right. Greg, of course, stuck in 1905 when all they had was the written word. But yeah, I mean,
Gutenberg changed things, sir.
Yeah, just pressed that out and killed it. What are your thoughts on this? Because this is fascinating. I feel like this is intriguing to me. I feel like this is something that I would actually want to try at least once, just not from necessarily a sexual standpoint, but just from the standpoint of saying like maybe this is what the technology should be used for.
No, I mean, dude, I'm right there with you. I think it's fantastic. I think that it's such a
because people who have tried it have said it's fucking wild.
It's super crazy.
Yeah, I want it. I want to try it right now. I wish we could. Kevin, figure it out. Not now, but for later. I want to.
Oh, you guys. You just get me the porn.
Yeah, don't worry. I
Well,
got the point.
All right, we can set it up.
Well, I
We
think you
got
have
the
to have a
machinery.
specific type of it doesn't have to be a specific
yeah,
program
you
for
can't
it.
just watch any porn and all of a sudden be like, whoa.
It's like, wow, I didn't realize all this time there was so much more to this porn that I'm watching.
No, but there's VR porn on any of the porn websites. There's like a VR channel now that you can go and look
Really?
at. Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of it's premium, but I mean, like, it's not that expensive. It's like it's new, evolving.
And that's a business expense for us now. We can just write it off.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
You're
Oh, yeah.
fine. No, I am extremely excited about this. I think that it's very awesome and interesting, and like VR is made for immersive experiences.
Right.
Like,
What could be
what's
more
better than
immersive than
that?
that? It reminds me of Strange Days. Do you ever see that movie?
No.
Strange Days. Catherine Bigelow directed this movie. It was Ray Fiennes and Juliette Lewis. It was about a society in the near future that gave people they had this technology that if you wore it on your brain, it would record your thoughts, and then you could play those back and relive other people's thoughts. It's kind of like that because there is, of course, the very first thing people use it for is to have sex with someone good looking,
Yeah.
and then you can record each other, and then you can see it from both perspectives. You could be the girl, you could be the guy. It doesn't matter. You're experiencing like they're experiencing, and I thought that was a very fascinating concept. This is what that reminds me of.
Yeah.
So from just a conceptual standpoint, I think it's great. From a logistical standpoint, though, it does pose some interesting problems in everyone's households.
Oh, in what ways?
Well, in that if you're
Now you have no idea if somebody's walking in on you.
yeah, you have no idea.
Yeah, okay.
That's the problem, right? It's like if I'm choosing to have an intimate moment with myself and my computer screen at night, and my wife's walking around, I could hear her get up, and I'll either turn the volume down or have the goddamn decency to pretend like I'm not watching porn.
Do you ever turn the volume up?
Sometimes I just pump. If it's a particularly disgusting scene, sure, I'll crank that up.
Gotcha.
Just so she knows, stay away from me right now. This is Uncle Nick's time.
She's like, oh, don't touch me, Uncle Nick.
I don't like that.
But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a bigger footprint required for this than there would be for normal porn watching, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, would that be something that, like? I guess if you have the VR headset, you're like, what's she gonna know? You just keep the controller in your hand, right? Like you're playing a game,
How do
and
you
then
jack off?
occasionally
Get
get over
okay.
to it. Like, no, honey, this is the way it's going. And maybe
No,
she
no,
just
I'm
won't
not.
notice
I'm
that
not
your dick's
watching
out.
porn. I'm just fucking rock hard right now because I'm playing the new Uncharted VR experience.
It's crazy. I popped a Viagra so I could have some place to put my DualShock.
Well,
when I
Nick,
wasn't using it.
it's either porn or the Batman. Yeah, either way, rock fucking.
Oh, dude,
hard.
I was so hard. I would have been out of my pants hard if it wasn't for Colin standing behind me. He makes me nervous a little sometimes.
Yeah.
He kept
well,
me
I mean,
limp.
I guess that's the thing though. Is like there is definitely it's a little worrisome being in this virtual world
Sure.
and not knowing what's around you. But it's like if you do know what's around you, then you're all good, right? The
Right.
thing with the VR is you don't even need the controllers though, because all of the experiences so far are
Just looking
You're
around.
just sitting.
That's a
and
good
just
point.
looking
That's a
around.
good point.
But what's interesting there is like I've read extensively on this and I've
Thank
watched
you.
many videos of people doing it. The weirdest thing is like when you look down, it's like it'll be like a black dude's legs or a white dude's legs,
my
and
fantasy.
whatever it is. But the thing is though,
Can they be
it's
Idris
not-
Elba's legs?
It's not weird because it's like you watch porn and it's black dude, white dude. Like that
Sure.
doesn't matter.
No.
That ain't your dick.
No.
But you're looking
Want it to
down and someone else's dick, where your dick would be.
That's so weird.
So yeah, it's really weird. I want to do it. It sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah, I think
We
should
had
do it.
had when
We
they
owe it to
announced that
ourselves.
when that I want to say Vivid, whoever it was, maybe Naughty America. When
Naughty
they
America,
announced it,
yeah.
we reached out and talked to them, and they were down to have us do it, and we just haven't got around to it. I know E3 they were doing demos for it somewhere.
Well, I mean now it's like it's widespread.
No, I know it's no,
like,
you just
literally
use it. Yeah,
everybody's doing it. But what I want to do is I want to be the woman. Just have that dick just fucking coming at me
Yeah,
from all
dog.
angles.
Yeah.
Learn yourself
Just
a
to
thing or two.
experience,
That's
you
a
know?
good point.
Yeah, I think there's a few people out there that I think it's like porn is like kind of a corruption of the idea of VR, but I think it's like the perfect realization of what VR is supposed to be, which is exactly whatever a human wants. So it's like porn makes perfect sense in VR, just like going to a concert makes sense in VR. I think it's going to be a super immersive experience. What I'm interested in from a business perspective is porn. I don't want to say porn was dying because that's not true. Porn has proliferated and makes money, but the proliferation of porn means that Tim might not remember, but like we all remember in the mid late 90s and early 2000s, you'd buy your VHSs or like later DVDs of these things, and like you'd buy a porn.
Tim, we had no other option.
What are you shaking your head at?
Yeah, bot porn, man.
You had
What do you want us to do? How did we get it otherwise?
But you could trade it
any
too,
other
like
way.
Pokemon cards.
Yeah, exactly.
That was
Like,
the
like
big
we would
thing.
all be like, me and my friends would, like we had a friend had an older brother who was 18 or 19, be like, all right, we want like this kind of porn. We'll each give you $10. I get it today, you get it tomorrow. All this kind of stuff. I mean, that's the kind of show we do because the porn
yeah.
the porn DVDs were like $50.
Here's a great scheme we ran on an FYE at Stratford Square Mall, is that we bought the Erotic Witch Project Part 3, went home, watched it, dubbed the tape, then wrapped it in cellophane and brought it back and returned it, and they took it.
You dubbed the tape?
Or you know what I mean, duplicate tape.
Oh,
We had 2 VCRs.
I thought you overdubbed the lines. I was like, what kind of sick fucking person does that? Like halfway through, she's like,
That's a Tim Gettys move.
I'm
What you would
watching
do.
you.
That's fucking hilarious.
I can see you. What the fuck?
But
It's
I,
like Be Kind Rewind or whatever.
Yeah, I love that movie.
but I feel like
movie.
it's a. I feel like so porn is like become more amateurish,
It's a
and
really
there
fun
aren't
thing to do.
there aren't like a lot of big there are big companies, but like the money that was being made in the 90s and early 2000s, I suspect was like actually way more because people had to buy the porn. There wasn't like a way to just stream it. People were ripping. Like every once in a while, if I'm browsing porn, I'll find something that I saw like when I was like
Years
in 11th
ago.
grade. I'm like, oh, I forgot
Heather
about that.
Brooke.
Bang Bros.
Yeah, well, Heather Brooks, she's Deep Throat, right? Is
Yep.
that, yeah, everyone knows her. So I feel like actually VR is interesting because it's a way for these porn companies to hire good talent, male and female talent, and like make great videos and then sell them for use on VR, and people will pay for them because people had already invested in this VR headset, and so they're going to want to invest in good content for it. So I actually feel like it's a really like a great renaissance moment for porn in terms of money's made, as opposed to like it is unimaginable to pay for porn right now in standard porn. I'd rather watch 480p Pornhub than pay whatever it is to get 720 or 1080 on
Yeah, it's
there.
not happening.
But like if you want VR porn, you might have to pay for that. Eventually, you're not going to have to.
I mean, even now you don't need to. Like,
But you're saying these are
already a
premium.
bunch
These
of
are
free
premium
ones.
services made for people with a premium device that are willing to spend another
Sure.
$10.
Yeah.
And so I think it's an interesting kind of revenue source for these guys. And I feel like it just makes perfect sense. Like that's the VR experience is supposed to be a very personal, immersive experience, and sex is personal and immersive, and watching porn is personal and immersive in its own way. Like whether you want to watch, I know you love bukkake porn, for instance, and like
I love every
so you really get
type.
into that.
Yeah.
And I know that your major dream is to be on the receiving end of a bukkake thing.
I mean, imagine
in
that
VR.
in VR.
Oh my god, be terrifying.
Well, after the first 2 or 3
kinda
shots,
in
you
its own
probably
way.
wouldn't be able. It would just be blurry, right?
Yeah,
It would just be like looking
Yes.
through
Trying to dodge
like
it.
an opaque filter.
oh my god,
That's
getting
disgusting.
nasty. No, I'm excited about it. I mean, I think that porn has been going a very interesting direction, and I think that there's less money in the porn industry, but I think
Right.
there's more money in the porn personalities. Like it's going the same way that the video games media is,
Right.
where it's just like it's independent, so those people can charge what they want. They don't need to be making millions of dollars from whatever, because they're not making that money.
Yeah.
They can be like, yo, I'm doing a stream, come watch me. It's a premium Patreon membership.
No,
and
it's
you're good.
true though, and it's actually fascinating and awesome to watch because it's universal or unilateral, rather I should say, across the board, is that you don't need these big corporations to create content, whether that content be what we do here or the equivalent, with naked people penetrating each other.
Which is pretty much very similar to
That's
what
exactly
we do.
what we do.
Kind of naked.
Yeah,
the
but-
new YouTube channel coming your way.
But that's where the VR comes in, is these people, as of right now, don't have the means to be able to shoot in VR and like, edit in VR and produce in VR. It takes a lot to really think about how it all works. And like I watched a behind the scenes video of how they make VR porn, and it's fascinating. Like it's a totally different process than normal porn, which is already, if we're not talking amateur, if we're talking produced stuff, like it's already a lot going into it, and it's very fake. There's a lot of cuts and edits and repositioning and making sure everything gets right. But you add in one of those ridiculous 3D camera like
Yeah.
GoPro
You're just the guy
units.
with an erection sitting there with this giant head unit
Yeah.
on. You look like
So-
Lewis from Ghostbusters.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. But I'm very interested to see what all goes. I haven't done it yet, and I want to.
I think we should do it. I think we
Yeah.
should. I think this should be
have
part
done
one, and then eventually we'll do
the
part
fake
2.
ass phone
broke ass.
I don't need that shit,
360
though.
shit.
Yeah.
It's still cool, but
Yeah, but I need both hands for that big phone.
yeah,
That's my problem.
How long do you do where you turn around and you watch the back for a while, just see what's happening in the back of the room, and then you just come back and see what's going on over here? If you didn't know, this has been the Game Over Greggy show each and every week. 4, sometimes 5 best friends gather on this table. Each bring a random topic of discussion for your amusement. If you like that, head over to patreon.com/kindafunny, where you can toss us a few bucks and get each and every episode early, along with a bunch of exclusive perks, goodies, and walnuts. If you don't have any bucks to toss,
no walnuts.
head over to youtube.com/kindafunny, where we post the entire show topic by topic, day by day. The next week, until it all goes up, is one big MP3 in video. Gentlemen,
Yes.
good work. Tim, change your shirt. Until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.
Never forget the Kevin milked a cat.
Kevin, you milking that cat on your sister's bed?
Christ. It's one of those things where you're like,
It was
can't.
under her bed. It was
It's-
under her bed.
It just the story of Kevin Coelho just keeps getting more and more absurd.
I do what needs to get done, guys.
No, it didn't need to get
The
done. They're
kittens-
cats. There's billions of them.